Hey, good morning. It's a beautiful day. It really is. It's not often you get to say that it's a gorgeous morning, but it is a gorgeous morning. I hope it is that way wherever you may be at this time. Good to be with you on a Friday. Yes, here we are yet again, another Friday coming our way. Boy, I tell you, I'm really trying hard to hold on to this summer as long as I can, and it just seems like the weeks are speeding up instead of slowing down. But oh well, that's the way things go, and I'm just happy that I can come and hang out with you for a bit as we continue our journey into this shared life of Christ. My goodness. So, hope you're doing well. Hope your morning is starting off well, and you've got some good things in store for your day and for your weekend coming up. It's going to be a nice weekend. So there's a lot that can happen. Who knows? He knows. So we'll just have to wait and see, right? Good morning, Jane and Ada and Maria. Looks like there's a couple of others that are hiding. I can't see for some reason. Facebook isn't showing me unless you say good morning. I can't see that you're here. I don't know what it is. Oh, there's Jackie. Okay, I don't know. Sometimes Facebook is a little squirrely in the way it works. All right, so we are in Matthew 14. We were actually bouncing back and forth between Mark 6 and Matthew 14. This is, the story that we've been looking at is Peter and no, actually, the last story we looked at was the disciples being stuck out in the middle of the Sea of Galilee. But I want to talk with you today about a topic that I think there's controversy around this, at least in some parts of the church. But it really is something that needs to be talked about. When Jesus sent the disciples on this assignment to go across to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, he himself, he knew that he would be joining them. So we're talking about assignment again, right? This idea of God has a plan, has a purpose, has something that you and I are called to do and to accomplish. And we see this exampled here in the Gospels over and over and over again. And, what does that look like? What does that mean? Well, if we have an assignment, if God has called us to do something, and again, I'm talking big picture now. We can have these little daily assignments where God says, "Hey, I want you to minister to this one, or talk to that one, or just do this or that." Right? Those are great, but there is this bigger picture of our life assignment, our life purpose, our destiny. All these big concepts that many times we kind of give a nod to, shall we say. It says, yes, I know, God has a plan for my life, but I'm too busy with I'm too busy with life to figure out what God's plan for my life is. I mean, I don't say that, to be critical, because it's just the way things are, right? We all deal with a lot of stuff in life. But when you begin to think about, what you're here for in terms of this relationship with him, and what he wants to accomplish through us, because that's really what we're talking about, this partnership that he has designed for us, where we live out of that reality that I'm a much loved son or daughter, but yet there is more than that, in the sense of, well, yeah, what are we going to do? Because we're not called to just kind of sit around and enjoy worship music and pray all day. No, there's things that he wants for us to accomplish as him in the world because he wants his kingdom established, right? He wants people to know him and to be touched by his power and his presence through us. So all of that big assignment thing, right? So when Jesus was working that, right? When he was doing all of that, we see some very interesting things there that we've got to come to grips with. And one of them is this idea of fame. Now, I don't know about you. I grew up in the church, and the idea of fame was never really spoken of in positive terms. It was always demeaned and denigrated, in the sense that people who want to be famous, that's wrong. You should never strive for fame. And I will agree with you, and I will agree with that we should not make fame our goal, right? Our focus. But to ignore the idea of fame is just as wrong. There's an old saying, I don't know how much it's used today or even understood today. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. All right. It's like, yes, after the bath, the water is no good. And so get rid of that, but don't throw the baby out. In other words, there is something valuable in this idea of fame that we need to understand. And it is glaringly in view here when Jesus and the disciples get to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. After all this drama, they're struggling and can't make any progress. Jesus comes to them walking on the water and all of that we just talked about over these past few days. Well, they finally obviously get across to the other side, and we see what happened. So let's read that. It's in Matthew 14, starting in verse 34. And when they had crossed over, they came to the land of Gennesaret. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but I think that's close. Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized Jesus, they sent into all that surrounding district and brought to him all who were ill. And they began to entreat him that they might just touch the fringe of his cloak. And as many as touched it were cured. I mean, as I was reading this and pondering and thinking about just this incident, again, remember, this was their assignment to go there. And what happened? Well, Jesus arrives and people look and they go, there's Jesus. That's Jesus. He's the one that heals everybody. Right? And so they send out the word, and who knows how many hundreds or even thousands of people were healed and set free because of that. And how did it happen, my friend? How did this situation develop? Because Jesus was recognized. What, you mean he had fame? Yes, he did. Jesus was known? Yes, he was. And because he was known, he was able to touch far more people than he would if he had not been well known. I mean, certainly when he first started out, people didn't know him, right? So he just had to work with whoever was in the area. But as his fame grew, he was afforded the opportunity to touch the lives of many, many more people. And as Christians who are hopefully being freed from religious culture, we don't like to think about ourselves as being recognized or having fame. Yet this is what enabled Jesus to touch more people than he would have if he remained unknown and hidden. Okay. There's a time and season for everything, and there's a time and season for hiddenness. you know, no question about it. You don't worry about it. You just follow him, right? But to draw back from any, I don't know, thought or inclination that you might become well known, that you might become famous in the process of following and pursuing your assignment. To draw back from that, well, that's just wrong. Because it would be, to me, the equivalent of what Jesus spoke of in Matthew 5, which we have looked at. He says, no one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel. All right. Lamps are made to be put on a lampstand. That picture is of you and I being recognized just as Jesus was recognized. Okay. He, we don't see him in these kinds of situations saying, oh, no, no, don't look at me. Don't look at me. Look at God. I mean, how ridiculous. He was there representing the Father. He says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. So he had no problem with becoming famous in doing what he was called to do. He had no problem being recognized for who he really was here on the earth. And you know what, my friends? Neither should we. We have got to get over our problem with fame. It was several years ago that, and I can't remember the exact time frame on this because I just don't do that well, but several years ago, there began to be released these prophecies, that spoke of a nameless, faceless generation that was going to impact the world, that was going to come and usher in this new move of God and the harvest and all of that. And so the phrase nameless, faceless, kind of became a catchphrase, a rallying cry, so to speak. And while I understand what is behind that, it was a reaction to the kind of superstar mentality that had taken over the church, where for, a couple of generations, there were these folks that were very anointed, all the famous healing evangelists that were out and about, everyone from Smith Wigglesworth through our modern era. Just think about all the different ones that were famous healing evangelists and did great exploits. Catherine Kuhlman and A.A. Allen and Branham, and you could just go through and there would be a whole list of these folks that were viewed as being somehow beyond the normal in terms of their Christian life, when the truth is that God raised up these folks as examples of what normal Christianity looks like. But instead, the church elevated them to such an extent that the idea that they were pointing the way to what we all can potentially do, right? All the exploits that they did, we're all capable of. We have the same Holy Spirit, right? But that wasn't well understood for quite a while. And so I can remember reading one of the biographies of Smith Wigglesworth, where he actually said to one of his closest friends, he says, the Lord's going to be taking me home soon. And the person was shocked and said, well, what do you mean? No, how can that possibly be? And Smith said, it is, because the people are now looking at me more than the Lord. So there was this problem in the church of elevating people to a stature that was inappropriate. And so as a reaction to that, right, there came this idea that a nameless, faceless generation was coming forth. In other words, it was no longer going to be the superstars that were going to do the exploits and all the major things, that will happen. It's something meant for all the saints. Okay. Bill Hammond wrote a powerful book about 20 years ago, The Day of the Saints, in which he prophesies and outlines how, the all of us as regular people are going to be doing these amazing things. But even there, you can take a powerful truth of a nameless, faceless generation, and it becomes a limiting factor for folks who are so I don't know, they're so wedded to that idea, that for you to suggest that the Lord wants them to become known, he wants us to become known for who we are and what we do. Why? So that we can serve more and more people. All right. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with wanting more and more folks to find out about what God's called you to do, because what he's called you to do is powerful. It's something that he is doing through you. So we should never be ashamed or look to uh, I don't know, demean or denigrate or minimize the impact that the Lord wants us to have. I'm not looking to become famous as the world defines it. The world defines fame as drawing attention to yourself because of the ego gratification that occurs when, people look at you and go, ooh, you're amazing. I want to be like you, and all that kind of ego gratification is completely inappropriate. That's, for us, we're all about others, right? Your purpose, your destiny will always and ever only be about serving other people, right? That's why we're here. We're here to be a blessing. We're here to make a difference in people's lives through who we are and what we're called to do as a result of that. So for us to not allow for that process to play out. Remember, going back to Matthew 5, Jesus, he's the one who said, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. What is that? Well, that's becoming famous. That's becoming recognized and known for who you are and what you do. We should never be ashamed of that. We should never draw back from that process, because if God wants to expand your sphere of influence, who am I to say, oh, God, don't do that. I don't want to become more known than I am because, I just don't want to be famous. Lord, more of you and less of me. That is so old school religion. It's ridiculous. The Lord trusts how he made each of us and what he equipped each of us to do. He trusts that. What does that mean? He wants what he put in us to be visible. That's what it means for our light to shine, for how he made us to be known, to be recognized, to even expand. Now, we will not know what extent our sphere will ultimately look like, because that's up to him. Okay. Some of us may just have a very local sphere of influence. But so what? When people that are connected to you recognize who you are, what you carry, what you do, and allow you, oh my gosh, give you the privilege to speak into their life, to bring help and healing and hope and all that He is in and through you. When people give you that privilege, whew, man, there is nothing greater, nothing more satisfying than being engaged in that. Okay. So that's what we do. That's what we're called to. And just as here we see Jesus coming into this land of Gennesaret and being known, being recognized. And as a result, they send out the word, He's here. Get over here now. You know, if you're sick, if you're whatever, bring everybody. And you know what's a fascinating thing in this story? I'm reading this, I'm going, wait, what? They were begging him that they might touch the fringe of his cloak. Well, where did that come from? Do you think that that woman with the problem with bleeding, right? The issue of blood that came and snuck up behind him and touched the hem of his garment and got healed. Do you think maybe she told her story? Maybe she was from Gennesaret. And when she got back home, she said, "Oh my gosh, I'm healed. All I had to do was touch the hem of his garment." Where would they get this idea other than perhaps through her? I mean, we don't know. The Bible doesn't tell us. I'm speculating here. But it to me, it makes a whole lot of sense. And what it says to me is, wow. So something that I'm doing that affects people are going to want more of that. People that need that are going to hear about it and go, "Yeah, would you do that for me? Would you let me touch the hem of your garment?" That's what they did to Jesus. And of course, He said, "Sure. Well, why not?" Because that works. See, I mean, that was just to me a fascinating affirmation of how when we do what we're called to do, whatever it looks like, as crazy as that is, it's just, yeah, just touch my, touch the hem of my garment and bam, you're healed, right? Whatever it is, if we're going to do that, if we are engaging in that, we will become known and recognized and, yes, famous for that thing. Evidently, Jesus was famous for the hem of his garment there in the land of Gennesaret. And that's how apparently many people got healed, was just simply coming up and touching his clothing. I mean, is that crazy or what? But yet I believe this is what it's teaching us, that each of us in our uniqueness, in what we're called to do, He wants to make us know why. Because we're doing it for the benefit of others, not for our benefit. If you still got some of that going on in you, well, that needs to be crucified and cast out. And so you can go to the cross, you can go to Jesus, you can say, "You know what, Lord, I want to crucify, my fleshly desire to be famous so that you can trust me to be famous and not have it screw me up and not mess up my head and have me do stupid things that famous people do." Okay. So go deal with that and then learn how to be focused on other people to such an extent that you become known for what you carry, for what you do, for who you are. And He allows you to touch the lives of many, many more people than you ever might on your own. Okay. Please, this is so important that we overcome our religious fear of fame and being known and being recognized, because you deserve to be recognized. If you're doing something that He's called you to do, you need to be recognized, and He wants to do that so that He can bless more people through you. All right. It's a lot to chew on. You got the weekend to do some dialogue with him and really see what he wants to show you with this. So I hope it's encouraging for you. Let me say good morning to the rest of this awesome breakfast club. You guys are amazing here, jumping in like this. Wow. Elaine, good morning. Bernadette, Joanne, Linda, Shalom. Bill, good morning. Yeah, happy Friday. Absolutely. Kali and Jack. Geraldine, how are you? My goodness, good to see you as well. Thank you guys. Appreciate it so much. And hey, you know what? Thank you to those of you that helped me become recognized by sharing the video. I do. I appreciate that so much. And as always, I'm here if you want to talk, if you want to ask some questions and chat about your process and your life. I'd love to talk with you. Have an awesome weekend. Look forward to being back with you on Monday at 8:30 Eastern. All right. So get out there and have some fun. All right. See you Monday.
Thank you, Lord, for a beautiful day. Thank you, Lord, for a beautiful